Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. If you don't know me, I've been rank 1 in Wild Rift all solo queue. I've been a 5-role sovereign on 5 different accounts in one season, all solo queue as well. And today I'm going to be talking about Baron lane Bruiser team fighting. So the reason it's specifically Bruisers is because Bruisers are the most common thing you play in Baron lane. I have a video on Assassin team fighting. That's going to be the same if you're a Bruiser or if you're an Assassin in Baron lane, or an Assassin obviously in mid. Same with team fighting as an ADC if you're playing ADC top for whatever reason. But Bruisers are kind of the most unique to top lane and kind of jungle, so we want to mostly talk about Bruiser team fighting, especially in the Baron lane here. We will be playing, I think there's a couple of clips where I'm Renekton, but I'm building Heartsteel, so it's sort of like a tank, but he plays very similar to a Bruiser, so still going to include those clips. Additionally, I have a Google Doc, link in the description to the Google Doc, gives you information on all of the key concepts you need to understand for Wild Rift and videos associated with them. And lastly, link in the description also gives information on my coaching. If you're interested in that, it's $25 an hour. Anyways, let's get right into the video. Okay, so as a Bruiser, you kind of are a very versatile champion. You can be the carry of a fight. Sometimes you're going to position like a carry. Sometimes you're going to play front to back, which means playing, straight on with your team and just fighting 5v5, just hitting each other with the enemies, walking back and forth, very straightforward. But other times you're going to be looking for a lot of flank angles. Basically, a flank angle is approaching the fight from somewhere else. So if all my teammates are going through the middle side of the map, into the Baron, I go from the top side into the Baron, for example. And a very easy way to create these types of situations is going to be by pushing a wave first. So in this situation, you're going to see I push the top lane wave out first, and I use the fact that I'm already pushing this wave to basically give me a different angle into the fight. Obviously, Gnar kind of likes building up his rage, so that's why it's even more, or his Mega Gnar. But basically here, again, you see how I'm approaching the fight from a different angle, and all this does is it pincers the enemy into my teammates. So when do you want to play like this? Well, very often you're going to want to play like this when you need to find an angle onto a key target, and that target's very hard to get. So maybe it's a fed Xayah or a fed AD carry, or someone positioning in, the back line who's just hard to catch. Maybe they have a Soraka who's giving you problems. So when you need to find another angle to catch out an enemy carry, it's going to be very good to look for an angle like this. And another time is going to be when your teammates just are pretty self-sufficient. So here they have a tank with a Mumu, like my teammates have a Mumu with them, and they have Morgana to poke well, Varus can poke, Nami can peel them. They don't really need me to just sit there with them. I don't do a lot. And so finding that flank angle, again, it just makes the enemy kind of feel pressured to go somewhere else. And then it means if anyone gets backed off in the, in the fight, like this Shyvana, I'm very easily able to turn onto her and basically pick off anyone who ends up being low in the fight. So it allows me to pick off people who are low in the fight because they don't really expect me to be there. It allows me to pincer the enemy between, me and my teammates, so they don't really have a good angle to go. And it allows me to find angles onto key carries as well. Okay, so this next fight, I want to talk about taking space, which basically means controlling an area or a choke point around whatever it is you want to do. So usually it's going to be around objectives. So in this case, Baron. Basically what you're going to see me do is use my health and use the fact that I'm quite tanky, and obviously I'm Renekton with Heartsteel, so I'm a little tankier than the average Bruiser, but Bruisers in general are going to be very tanky, especially if you're fed and you're building some tank items later on, or if you're just not a key carry and you're kind of just trying to make space for your teammates. Basically you take control of some level or some choke point, something like that. And basically this is what you're going to see me doing here. So I get vision over this wall, and I'm pretty much just sitting here kind of making the enemy's game annoying, and I think I might, steal his camp too while we're at it. Basically, I make it extremely hard for the enemy to walk in or do something. You see how I'm pretty much just sitting here holding my W, making sure that Lee Sin can't walk in, which means he has to approach the fight from an annoying angle, and you see my Gragas is also making space somewhere else. Additionally, target prio. So here, Lee Sin is really, really fed. He is their fed person. He has like 16,000 gold or something. He's quite fed. And additionally, they have Lulu, who is kind of a champion who's very good at peeling her teammates, and it's kind of hard to kill people when they have a Lulu, but getting on the Lulu itself is not as hard. So here we're trying to make sure that the Lee Sin can't get onto my teammates, making sure we stun him and make space so he can't really walk forward. And then we're also keeping track of trying to find the Lulu. Those are kind of my key targets, and you always want to identify your key targets, which are usually going to be key carries, assassins that might, one-shot your teammates that you want to peel off, or supports that can protect their teammates but can't protect themselves as well. So that's kind of like the things you're looking for target priority. And then again here you see I'm just standing, so Lee Sin can't really Q my teammates ever because I'm standing in between my teammates and Lee Sin to basically make sure he can't Q them. So using your body to kind of block stuff as well. And then here again, I just make space. I'm literally just walking in. These are the 2 key targets, and we're able to find the target priority onto the Lulu, which means our teammates are able to find really good follow-up there. And we basically just make a bunch of space for our team. We make the enemy have to walk through a choke point, and then we just understand which targets we really want to go onto, which again are the again, you see here I'm peeling for the Lee Sin, basically stunning the Lee Sin, and again obviously the Lulu as well. Those are like our main targets. So making space and target priority are really what you can take away from this clip. Okay, so as you see me talking about in pretty much every single team fighting video, is using mid-wave or using any lane to have a good angle into the fight and controlling those waves. So here we're not doing the best as a team. It's pretty hard to just go straight in and fight at the dragon. So instead I prioritize controlling the mid lane wave first, and basically that allows me to give my team some angle into the fight. So again, you see how we control this mid wave. Rather than just walking into the dragon, we let the enemy get dragon because it's just a dragon, no one really cares. And we're basically focused on, again, keeping control of the mid wave, which allows us to have the ability to go into Baron and makes the enemy come into us. So that's the first thing. Control waves, especially mid wave, with your team so that the enemy, have an awkward way or an awkward angle to come into the fight. The other thing I want to talk about here is itemization. So as a bruiser, you get to build armor and magic resistance. And so understanding which items you have and how that works against the enemy is super important. So here, for example, I have Mercury Treads, and this is going to be even more true later on in the game when I build more magic resist. But the enemy have 3 magic damage champions, and then they also have Jax, who is partially magic damage. So they have a lot of magic damage champions, and because of that, I itemize heavily against the magic damage. What that means is that I'm really squishy if they're Zeri, their 180 carry. She does a little magic, but mostly 80. If she gets on me, I'm going to get melted. And so basically you're going to see here how I'm making sure, and obviously Mordekaiser, he especially gets to do this because he gets to isolate people, but this is true of anyone. He's just a good champion to showcase it. Basically let the enemy who have the things that your items are good against, the damage type your items are good against, or if you have Frozen Heart and they're auto attack based, let them be the ones to hit you. Walk at them in the fights. And so here you basically see I'm focusing on the Echo, I'm focusing on getting hit by the Rumble, and basically getting hit by these champions rather than the Zeri is super important. And here again, even like Jax hitting me, for example, like these are the champs I want hitting me. I'm walking pretty far away from Zeri, making sure she can't really hit me, and then eventually she puts herself in a position where we can catch her. So of course we're going to catch her out because she's still, a pretty squishy champion. But again, basically here you see control of mid-wave makes the fight a lot easier, and then keeping track of which champions have items that or have damage types that my items do well against, and making sure those are the champions I let hit me. That's ultimately how we were able to win this fight. Okay, so this next clip is going to show you basically 2 things. The first thing I want to talk about is fighting when you're behind as a laner, and the other is target prio. So the first thing is fighting when you're behind. So basically when you're behind, here I'm 0-3 obviously, it's a lot more okay to be risky and kind of, give your life for a teammate. Basically, you're not the one who matters in the fight. You're not trying to play super safe. You're just trying to make the game, make space for your teammates again. It's a lot about making space on bruisers, and again, Volibear with Heartsteel a bit tankier, but still a bruiser nonetheless, in terms of the playstyle and everything. And again, you're walking up and making space for your teammates and making it so that the enemy are hitting you and then hoping they use a lot of their abilities on you. Because any ultimate used on me, or any even ability used on me, is extremely beneficial for my team because it allows them to walk forward. And again, I'm not the carry of this fight. I'm not very valuable. So notice how, again, I walk forward. Me and Amumu are the tanks. We're just letting our teammates basically get here for free. And you see how the enemy have to back off because of that. So that's the first thing, is you see how I make space and I'm okay with being kind of risky as the, bruiser / tank champion who is obviously behind a lot. And then the other thing is target priorities. So Galio and Mundo, they're not going to die to me. So notice how I target the Warwick straight away. I'm like, okay, I'm going to back Warwick up so he maybe uses a Q on me so he doesn't have his Q if he ults in, or he has to, E so that he's less tanky when he goes in. This is the champion I care about. And so notice how I'm basically initially zoning him off. And then once he's used his spells and he's kind of been zoned off, then I go onto the Seraphine, who's another squishy champion who I can keep quite low. And basically that target priority, and then here I'm just trying to get Heartsteel stacks, but that target priority leads to us, actually having the fight go quite well. And the other thing here is the fact that I'm making so much space means that Katarina can find her moment because the enemy used their spells on me, which means Katarina can find, that engage. And so obviously, since we were behind in the game, I'm fine with using my life and being kind of, or using my HP as a resource, giving up my life and being more risky because obviously that can potentially lead to a play like that for a reset champion like Katarina, who really is my carry in that fight. And again, the target priority, targeting the Warwick, making him not able to go in right away and target my teammates, and then targeting the Seraphine, so she's quite low. That kind of also helped us win the fight there. Okay, so again, now this is kind of going to be playing from ahead. So even though I'm 3-2, I'm like way ahead in this game because we've been dominating side lane and whatever. And basically, you use the fact that you're ahead to get to the fight first, to get the objective first, and also find a nice angle into the fight. So here you see dragon spawning in 43 seconds. This is a great timer, right when 45 seconds before the objective spawning, get your side lane pushed out, and then use side lane push to initially keep the enemy back, and then go and find a rotation into mid or into the objective to find a nice angle onto the fight. And you're going to see basically the fact that I get to be on the fight first because I have control of the side wave and I push the side wave out first means that we get to go into the fight and carry it. And please don't hate me for playing Garen. I'm sorry. Sometimes I like winning the game for free because the champ is broken and stupid. So we did end up locking in that champion. But again, main things I want you guys to notice, using the side lane wave push to prepare for the objective, and then once you get it pushed out, using that to rotate into the fight before your laner can rotate. All right, so next up I want to talk a little bit about target prio. So we talked about how you can often target a carry or target a champion who's really easy to kill, but here I want to talk about targeting like the set here and why I target the set. So initially we have two champions on the enemy. We have Warwick and Volibear, or Warwick and Set. The enemy carries are quite split off, and our carries are also split up. So the first reason is because here I'm a lot stronger than Set rather, and the enemy carries aren't going to be here for a while. So whittling down the front line right away means we can potentially find damage onto the carries without being CC'd or peeled. And then the other thing is I want to try to get out Set's key abilities rather than them still being alive or being up once my carries get here. So basically, again, the fact that I'm a lot stronger than Set and really tanky, the fact that the enemy carries aren't here yet, and also the fact that Hecarim and Bard are champions who don't need me in a fight, like, to be on top of them. Like, they're both tanky enough and have ways to survive, so I don't need to be on the fight protecting them, so instead we go into the Set. Notice how I position in a way that Set can't ult me into my team, so I'm keeping track of that spell. That's the other thing I want to talk about. So again, the target priority onto the tank, because I know I'm a champion like Garen, has good true damage, of course, and the tank is kind of the easiest person to hit in that case. Getting onto the backline would take too long because they were far away. Again, but then also the spell tracking, standing in a way where the Set can't ult my teammates or ult me into my teammates. So again, keeping track of those spells is really important. And then one more thing you're going to see with spell tracking that's a mistake of me is obviously Xayah has ult here, and yet I flash onto her and try to Q her, even though she's obviously just going to ult. And here you obviously saw I was kind of waiting, but then I got impatient and, I flashed. So basically, the spell tracking thing, you want to make sure like you don't flash onto a Xayah with ultimate because she's obviously just going to ult and run away. Or again, standing in the proper, thing, or on the proper side so that Set can't ult you and your teammates. And then again, the target priority, especially when you're a true damage-based champion, sometimes it's going to be okay to target the tank, like in that case. Okay, and this is a short clip, mostly just because I want to talk about peeling your carry, but I didn't have a whole lot of clips that like related to that, but it's still something I want to cover. So here you see like I end up flashing onto the Garen when he goes onto my Xayah and stunning him. So basically the reason I'm so eager to make sure he doesn't die, even that I'm like gonna blow my flash and everything, is because my Xayah is super fed and kind of is the carry of that fight. And so like understanding when it really matters for you to just flash and just make sure you protect your teammate at all costs is really important. It's usually going to be when your teammate is quite fed. And then also spell tracking, but for your teammates. So my Xayah used her ult and Lulu ult was used, so she no longer had a lot of ways to peel herself. So I don't need to go flash onto her when she has ult, she has flash, she has everything like that. But then once those things are gone, understanding that you need to peel your carry. So basically understand in the fights, when you have like a carry or someone who's more valuable than you, for example, because sometimes a Bruiser, you're going to be more just like a CC bot or someone who's just trying to make space. And then spell tracking for your teammates. So understanding when they're actually in danger versus when they have ways to, escape and survive and whatever. So yeah, that's basically the gist of that clip. Okay, so that's basically it for the video. Again, you see a lot of the similar concepts that you see in my other team fighting videos in this video. Ultimately, just wanted to make a video on Bruiser team fighting, and I will be making videos on team fighting and just everything in general of the game. You can kind of see now as I'm making these videos, there's overlap between concepts And then there's also unique things like the flanking thing, for example, for Bruisers is more somewhat unique, but stuff like target prio and spell tracking, that's kind of something you're doing in pretty much every role. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know like less people watch these types of videos, but I do think they're overall more valuable. So if you guys do think they're more valuable, definitely let me know in the comments. Or if you really just think like I should go back to the old style of videos, I want to know your guys' opinions on that. Other than that, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.